Right, we are live on Lindaschool Facebook page today, Sunday evening. And Francisca Quádrio, it's a big, big honor and pleasure to have you with us on this journey, which is called Lindaschool Throwback. Francisca, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor to be here.
Great. So we're both very honored then.
Yes.
That's a mutual thing. Francisca is now living in England. She moved to Leicester in 2017, has just graduated in creative writing and journalism, and she has been doing some extracurricular activities in that field, has been beauty and fashion editor-in-chief at her university's magazine, as well as other projects which we would so much like to hear about. But basically, and one of the most important things is that if Francisca had not got her English to the T, she wouldn't be able to be going through all of this experience, right, Francisca?
Definitely. No, I think people underestimate a bit like moving to a different country. Because even if you're fluent in English, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to communicate with people, especially coming to the UK. Luckily, I came to an area where the accent is sort of understandable. And because I came to university, people come from so many different places that you just experience lots of different accents. So it was sort of okay. But I think as Portuguese people, we're kind of used to these American English, American way of speaking, American idioms. So when I came here, no one ever thought I was Portuguese. Everyone asked me if I was Canadian, if I was
Wow.
American, because they thought, oh, her English is so good, but then her accent is so not European. They thought my accent was so American. Then they were just very confused, and I was confused on my part because I also didn't understand a lot of the kind of slang that uni students would use. Now obviously I know everything, and I've turned into saying stuff like bins instead of saying trash can, or loads of different stuff like that you just
It's interesting that everyone so far that has gone to live abroad has shared the exact same thing, that when you get there you realize, wait a minute, I thought I was excellent at English, but there's so much more English that I didn't know,
yeah. And
which
then
is the actual English people use in everyday life.
exactly, there's so many little things that you wouldn't even think. And actually correcting yourself to not speaking grammatically correct, does that make any sense? Because we learn this sort of grammatically correct way of speaking, which
Yeah.
makes total sense, but a lot of people in the UK use certain expressions that are not really grammatically correct. So they look at you weird when you do speak like that. Does that make sense? So
So we're getting you guys all prepared for the Cambridge examinations, all great English,
yeah.
get your grammar straight and so on. And then you arrive at an English speaking country and, oh, wait a minute, my grammar is too perfect.
No, yeah. I mean, you definitely need it for writing, especially me doing a writing course. I think that was very valuable that I got all that, doing vocabulary 5 times. I think that was really useful, for instance, to try.
Everyone's spoken about that
Yeah,
one.
remembering things like sometimes just were random situations, and I never thought. Sometimes I think, oh, how did I know that word? And I'm like, oh, it's probably from doing all those vocabulary exercises. But I think it's always going to be hard, and no matter where you go in the country, there will be different, because the UK is not very big, but if you go like a couple miles, they have a completely different accent. They use completely different expressions. So you can't really come prepared, if that makes sense, because every area is so different that
Yeah.
you just have to.
That's basically what
Yeah.
life is all about. People want to plan everything ahead of time, but you can't really go fully prepared anywhere, because the experience will be the experience when you're there. the map is not the territory.
Indeed.
So
Yeah,
to speak.
it really is. What was I going to say is also you can't really feel sad or bad when they're making fun of you, because it's kind of lighthearted. They feel like you making certain mistakes or not understanding certain expressions is sort of endearing to them. So I also kind of feel like you just have to be very open, because you're the one moving to a different country, so you're the one having to adapt to those things.
Yeah.
They don't have to necessarily adapt to you, they have to respect you and tolerate you, but you're the one who needs to make those adaptations. So I think that's the kind of thing you need to be.
So what has that taught you in terms of what kind of life skill did you gain from that?
I think, I mean, moving to a different country, especially with such a different culture, you think, oh, they're European, they're going to have the same exact culture. Not at all. Like, I don't think there's any similarities. There's so many things in life where I'm just like, oh, that's just so annoying, or the opposite, oh, that works really, really well. You just have to really be adaptable. And I think for, in terms of career aspects or even like personal skills that I've learned, I think it just makes you more open-minded to people. So obviously you don't just meet British people here, you meet people from around the world in university. And if you're going to have a career in the UK, that's how it's going to be your entire life. So it just, the more you go through those little steps and trying to understand people and communicate with people and open your mind and broaden your horizons, the more you'll be able to, you know, face different types of challenges. And now, you know, instead of immediately stressing about it, or trying to immediately find like the quickest, fastest solution, you just kind of have to take a moment to think, okay, this is a challenge. I can be adaptable to this. How can I make the best out of this? What can I do that will be the best for me? Not just a quick fix. Like, what can I do that will actually have a bigger impact in my life? I think that was kind of the biggest
Wow,
thing.
that was, you know, because I knew you from before, and that's a huge step for you, because you used to get quite stressed out when you had a new challenge, but you never ever said no to a new challenge.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still a bit stressed out,
but you're maturing,
yeah,
right, in that.
I think I just figure out the ways that I need to calm myself down. Does that make sense? Because I know that in the end I still push through, and as you said, I never say no to a challenge. And I figured out from this last year of university that I actually thrive better when I'm challenged. So if to me a project is not a challenge, it's going to be easy. I'm still going to succeed at it, but it's not going to have that kind of fulfillment within you,
So
that
you
you've
feel
done
you
something.
don't grow so much, right?
Yeah, you just feel, oh, I did that. But when you're challenged to do something, for instance, I'll give you an example. As you know, I did creative writing and I did journalism. And journalism was really easy. It was a lot of work, but it was really easy for me in a sense that I really liked it. It was my favorite subject, so it felt really easy to me. I still got really good grades at it. But for instance, from creative writing, it was more of a challenge because it's more subjective. The teachers were a bit harsher. So to me, it took me more work, more challenging myself, more, you know, researching, looking into things to actually get to those grades. So I feel more accomplished in that side of the subject than the other one. And I think I've learned more about myself and what I want to do and what I like to do and I don't through that, even though I liked the other bit more and I succeeded at the other bit a bit more. I feel like I did grow more through the other subjects.
So challenges do make us grow, or if we allow them. If we allow them.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Great. So how would you say that having been at lindaschool, and you were with us in more than just English, because you were the pioneer for our Grab Your Chance project, where we had this exchange where a student was doing the English preparation for, in your case, certificate in advanced English during the year. And in exchange, you worked 6 hours a week for us in the marketing and communication field. And at the time, there were many projects going on. And you were always there always creative, always offering a new perspective, always also facing challenges, because things weren't ready given to you. You had to look how to do it,
Yeah.
how to create this, what to do, and so on. So how do you feel that also being at Linda School, not only as an English student, but also in our other projects, contributed to your growth, to now, to who you are now, and to what you came to experience further on?
So I think first of all, regarding that project, it kind of really set my mind onto what I want to do, which is within that area of journalism, media, and stuff. But because I gained those skills through that. When I came to university, obviously there's some it's so different from Portugal. I had no idea how the university was, and there's these societies like there's probably thousands of societies you can join. They're like clubs. And I saw that there was a media society, and I think if I hadn't done that project with you, I probably wouldn't have been as confident going into it, or I knew I wasn't like proficient in anything, but at least because I had some sort of experience and I knew that it was fun, I thought, you know what, that would be a great extracurricular activity. So I think in that way, that kind of pushed me into that zone. But being at Linda School and learning English is pretty much what made me fluent in English. And with being fluent in English comes a lot of pros when moving to a different country. I still felt very self-conscious about my English when I came. It was not as good as it is now, but it was still very good. But I felt, because I was so nervous, I kind of stuttered a lot and I would make some mistakes. And then obviously people made fun of you because you had an accent, or because I used certain words that weren't from British English. So I was very kind of self-conscious, but I had to trust that I knew how to speak English and people understood how I communicate. And luckily I made friends really quickly, and they also kind of ensured me that I was doing okay and that it was okay. So the first thing obviously that it enabled me to do is make friends really quickly. I feel like a lot of students come to the UK not being fully fluent or not being able to fully speak English. For instance, Chinese students, we see them all the time just with other Chinese friends, because not that they can't speak English, that's not the truth at all. It's just that they don't feel confident in themselves, so that they just prefer to hang out with other Chinese people. And to me, of course, I love Portuguese people, and I did have Portuguese friends in the UK, but I liked being able to speak to people from different countries. And I felt like if I wasn't completely fluent in English, then I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing that. And I probably would have just stuck to Portuguese people and wouldn't have been able to sort of broaden my horizons. There's nothing wrong with just sticking with people from your country. I understand that, but it's just not for me, because my goal was really to get to know other cultures and broaden my horizons. So obviously that was one of the first things that it really helped me to do. The second thing was the society that I was talking about. As I've explained, I was a bit more comfortable joining because I already had some of the skills through the project. And as I said, if I hadn't had those skills, then I wouldn't have joined probably. But I think joining that society was kind of what made my university experience the most worth it, and is definitely what will help me progress further and get a good job.
Is that related to the school, the university magazine you
Yeah.
were editor-in-chief for?
Yeah, so that society is divided into 3 strands. They all belong to one society, but you have the TV strand, the radio strand, and the magazine strand. So when I got there, as I said, I wasn't very comfortable speaking, so I just focused on my writing and I just joined the magazine. My first year, I only worked for the magazine, and I was happy doing that. But then my friends started taking part in other things, and my boyfriend also took part on the radio set and the TV part of the Demon Media. And I felt that I wasn't really accomplishing anything because writing for the magazine wasn't a challenge for me anymore, because I was getting better at speaking, more comfortable, living in the UK. And so in my second year, I did give it a try at being on radio. For instance, I did like 2-3 shows on radio, and I was really nervous, but I think in the end it was really worth it. And I felt like, even though that's not what I want, it was fun to do, and I felt like I wasn't too bad at it. So it was something that took me out of my comfort zone. So I'm glad I did that as well. For instance, I presented some TV shows as well, just university stuff, but I presented some stuff. I starred in videos like acting, like just small roles and stuff, baking shows, stuff like that. And I also produced a TV show, which I never thought I would, and it won an award as well. So
Congratulations.
I felt like that was such a good experience, and things that you wouldn't necessarily do or think that you would do in university. And it really kind of put me in this place. So actually, I can do other things if I want to. Like, I don't necessarily just have to stick to my comfort zone. I think that felt really good to do. So obviously, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if I wasn't completely fluent and comfortable with my English, which is it's not just what you do. You don't just, at lindaschool, you don't just teach us English. You teach us how to be comfortable speaking. It's not just one-sided in that, because you do so many projects where we have to speak English, that getting that conversational English, not just the classroom English, I think is very important too. Another thing, I felt comfortable enough to do like work experience in the industry. So I did a couple of weeks in a local magazine, another week in a local newspaper as well, which was a really good experience. I got to get my work published in like the newspaper and online platforms and stuff. Yeah, another thing is obviously, I think I've grown so much in my beliefs and the things that I know, in my knowledge as well, through being able to, for instance, just as simple as watching YouTube videos from stuff around the world, from problems like period poverty and, for instance, the problem that's happening in Yemen at the moment, the Black Lives Matter protests. Just being able to speak English connects you to this worldwide chain of people that can teach you so much, and that I felt like when I was at home, I was kind of shadowed, not on purpose. No one was shadowing from that or like locking me away from those things. But I feel like it's just something that we do. I don't know. I think I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel like sometimes we are just in this bubble that until we leave, we don't realize the things that we're missing out.
Definitely.
I love Portugal and all, but I'm sure this happens in all countries.
For everyone who leaves their own country, no matter what country it is.
I'm sure that happens to everyone, but it just opened my horizons to all these things. And knowing English, obviously, if you don't know English, you can't, because that's the language of the internet. You can't learn all these things without knowing that. So I think that was also a really good thing that I thank you guys for as well.
So you talked about, getting out of the bubble. Also had another challenge for you, is that you had to, were you working part-time all along during university or only during holiday periods, or because you have also a job, right? You're also working.
I started working in November 2017. So I came in I think November 2017, if I'm not wrong. I started working at the football club. It was casual shifts, but it was okay because I didn't have much experience, and they were the only ones that kind of took me in. And then in February, I got another job at a cafe, and that was like a restaurant. And it was, I think, very interesting because it made me work for my money. If that makes sense. It makes you have that value for
you were made but the thing is, you had to do that because you needed to earn something, right?
Yeah, of course.
But on the other hand, sort of juggling university with that, for you, from what I see and feel, is like it wasn't an issue.
No, not at all. I think in Portugal, I've noticed from talking to a lot of my friends that they have a really big schedule, always studying, always doing this and that and that. For us in the UK, I think, and I really like this, and that's probably one of the reasons I would recommend people studying in a foreign country, is because here they value a lot the time that you do extracurricular activities like societies. They value the time that you're working. So you have time to work, you have time to study, you have time to take part in clubs, you have time to go to classes, and you have time to party, because they have we have a club at the university, so they want you to take part in all these areas of the university experience, including having a job, to the point that the university itself has a job board where you can find jobs through the university.
Oh, great.
And in the university as well. So they really promote all those things, and they really help you if you want to get a placement, so like a year where you go and work at the industry before you finish your third year. They will help you out with anything that you need. And so it's quite easy for us to do that, even if you don't necessarily need the money. I think you still should, because otherwise you will be really bored. You have a lot of free time. Obviously, depending on the kind of activity that you do, if you take upon a sport like rowing, you probably will be, rowing 24/7. But I think you just have to take make the most out of those opportunities, I think.
Great. Yeah, because the youngsters here in Portugal, as you know, who go to university, mostly do not have a job while they're studying, only maybe during the holidays, but also maybe because the schedule itself is too demanding, or there are too many classes on the curriculum, and then too many hours of extra work out of class, which then makes for not much time, really.
Yeah, of course. And
and there aren't many part-time jobs either.
Yeah, I understand that. I think there's a big difference, because people in the UK start working from when they're 16.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily happen in Portugal. You start working about when you're 18, or even
18,
after university. But I think there's a lot of value.
It's a huge cultural difference, right?
It is. And it really made me feel ashamed that when I came here, I had no work experience apart from your project, really. Like, I had no work experience, and all my British friends had already worked at 3 restaurants and 2 cafes and 1 retail shop. And I was just like, oh gosh, I feel like I don't know anything. Like, I feel like I haven't experienced this world of working. And I think it's good, because a lot of people might leave university in Portugal and be so shocked by the working world.
By the real world, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. And having to pay taxes, and having to take care of their money, and so on and so forth.
Having to manage the home, and because most youngsters here, as you know, also only leave home quite late.
Yeah. Well, I pretty much have left home, and I mean, having to cook for yourself and kind of budget your own money, and know what's a good deal, what's not, go to the market, go to, you learn a lot. And then I feel like if I hadn't done that, if I just had, studied at home and gone to my parents' house every weekend and grabbed food from them, there's nothing wrong with that.
Each one has their own experience.
Exactly. But to me, that wouldn't have worked, because I feel like that wouldn't have kind of pushed me to mature as well. Everyone matures at a different level in life, and if that someone's gonna mature after university, that's totally acceptable. But to me, I feel like it was worth for me to have to budget and cook my own food and plan recipes, and know the value of working as well.
So, looking at where you are at right now in your life, how would you envision sort of going back home?
What do you mean? Do you mean like
going back
visiting?
to your parents? No, just going to live again, like at your parents' place.
I mean, I mean, it feels already weird when I go and visit because I have my own I cook my own food and we have really different tastes. I've experienced at home I wasn't very cultured in terms of food. Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
that. I hadn't tried loads of different types of food. Um, um, and when I came here, they have
Everything.
they have everything. You can literally try anything that you want from pretty much any country in the world. So I've took some of those things and put them in my cooking and
Uh-huh.
experienced, so because you have so many ingredients as well at much cheaper that you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't really necessarily get there. So I've managed to create so many different recipes that when I go home as well, that's something that's weird to me, going back to just eating certain foods that I used to eat that I don't eat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or for instance, having different routines as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's
What else?
interesting, isn't it? Like it's only
Yeah.
3 years. It's only been three
It
years.
is true, but like just the simplest things of me wanting to go out with my friends and still having to go back to telling my mom, I'm going to go out now, and knowing that she's home waiting for me, like, of course, out of concern, just it makes me also concerned. I'm like, she should be sleeping, because if I were to
Mm-hmm.
go out back home, she wouldn't have stayed up all night.
Yeah.
Um, those kinds of things, obviously, having to go back to living with my brother and having like these silly brother sister arguments that everyone
Yeah.
has, that I mean, I liked having him obviously there,
Of
but
course he's your
it
brother, but
just it's just different, obviously.
uh-huh.
Um, Also, I feel like my Portuguese has just become so much
Yeah, now your first
worse.
language has become English,
No,
eh?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, because there's still loads for me to learn in English.
Oh
As
yeah,
there,
but it's the one you
yeah,
use
yeah, the
most
most.
of the time.
Yeah, I only speak Portuguese to my mom, which is pretty much once a day, which can range to 10 minutes to an hour max. So I spend the rest of my day speaking English. So in a way, yes, it's kind of become leveled. And there's just so many different expressions in English that are not translatable,
Mm-hmm.
and expressions that we use so often,
Mm-hmm.
that in Portuguese there might be a translation. Sometimes it just sounds really like fancy. If that makes sense,
Uh-huh.
like it wouldn't be a word that we would use in like a conversation. And so sometimes I really struggle. Or for instance, I don't know how to explain using words and then putting like mente or sound, and then it's the wrong version of it. And I'm just like, my mom's a Portuguese teacher, so obviously she laughs at me when I make these mistakes. But it is worrying, obviously, because I want to still be able to speak my language fluently, but it's not like it's my choice. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just become my life, so that's all I can do, really. It's just,
Yeah. We've got a comment here from an ex-lindaschool student. At this time, when the school was first at Rua Projetada dos Construtores Civis by Bom Jardim Roundabout, it was our first school. At the time, I was still very young. When that school opened, I think I was 13 or 14 or something like that.
uh-huh.
So it was years and years ago. Thank you, Cristina Costa, for connecting. Thank you. Yes, Linda has left a legacy for sure. And everyone in these interviews has spoken about how the 5-time repetition has been
Yeah.
relevant in their lives
Mm.
afterwards. It's so interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Um, what were we talking about?
We were talking about the fact that it now seems quite strange that you speak better
Ah,
English in a
yes.
sense than Portuguese. But I'm sure if you come over to Portugal and stay long enough, you will just
Yeah,
switch back
probably.
to Portuguese and that's it. But do you consider staying on in England? That is your choice for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it suits me better as a
Mm-hmm.
person. Like, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong, I do love Portugal, and I'm not saying that it's a bad country or anything at all. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people think that's why you leave, because you hate it, but it's not necessarily. I thought I did, in a sense. Like, I thought, oh, I really hate this here. I don't belong here. I don't want to be here. But it's
At the
not.
time, right?
Yeah, at the time, but when I came here, I realized it's not necessarily like like it's not in terms of hating or loving, because I do love it and I do love the culture and I do miss it, like the food, certain aspects of it. I really miss it that the UK does differently. Um, uh, but at the same time, it's more of like clicking and matching to a place, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying that I'll forever match the UK, because
But
every
you
country
feel probably
changes.
you have more opportunities over there.
Yeah, obviously I do have more opportunities. I feel like I do belong here. I feel like I have another family here as well. So it would
Isn't
really,
it amazing how in such a short time, like when we really open up for that, we can create new family
yeah,
wherever we are. That
yeah,
is
it's
such a
exactly.
gift.
But you need to, as you said, you need to be open to it.
Yes.
If you only come here to study and you know I want to go back home, and you don't open yourself
Yeah.
to it, you don't know if you would ever feel like this and actually feel like you do belong somewhere else. Because I feel like I do belong in both places. I mean, I have my
Yeah.
family, my culture, my childhood, my memories, they're all there. So I do belong to home, but at the same time, I feel like I click more with not necessarily this culture, but just this lifestyle.
The maybe the diversity.
Yeah, the diversity, just more of like, not saying that there aren't racist or homophobic people or anything here, because there are, obviously there are,
As everywhere.
there's everywhere, but it just feels a bit more open, not in necessarily everything, but it just feels more open, more, not that the people are nicer, but they're just
It's
kind
a
of,
different set of beliefs, basically.
yes, exactly. Yeah, people are just more open, I would say.
I'd like to ask you one last question, which the question I always ask at the end is, if you were to leave a piece of advice for children and youngsters to achieve their dreams, what would it be?
So to me, and it is my life motto, and probably a lot of people's life's motto, is that if you ever want to achieve anything, you have to work for it. So if you have a goal and you focus on it, you can literally achieve anything. That's what I believe. If you work hard for it, you'll probably achieve it. But I
So,
think,
thinking that you can achieve it without any dedication
yeah,
is an illusion.
yeah, if you don't put passion into it, if you don't put hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, you're probably not gonna get it, you know. But I think it's also important to understand that life doesn't always work how we want it to, and to trust the process, to trust that there will be something better for us, that maybe that opportunity that we wanted, we didn't get it, but maybe there'll be something better, or something worse, but as something that we'll learn from, if that
So
makes
don't
sense.
not necessarily focus on our expectation.
Yes, focus on a more general goal, like what do you want to achieve, what kind of person do you want to become. That's a good one to that's a
Okay,
good way to
great.
do it, instead of just focusing, I want that opportunity. You can, but you might get disappointed, and that will
Yeah.
probably happen. That's happened to me, obviously, and it's going to continue to happen, because I do put some trust in certain things that I really want. Obviously with that mindset that if you think positive, you're going to get it, but you always have to have that
To
foot
keep your
out the
mind
door.
open
Yeah,
for
you
the
have to,
fact that
that you
it
might
might
not
not
get it.
happen.
And I also just want to say that you're never going to get anywhere in life on your own, if that makes any sense. So obviously you have to work hard for yourself, not work hard for anyone else, but you also should put some trust in people, because people can really help you out. I
Yeah.
reckon if I didn't have friends in my family, I wouldn't have been able to go through this experience on my own. They really make who you are as well. So without people, you're really not going to grow as well, because you're not going to have those even bad interactions are
Yeah,
probably the
those also
things.
make you grow, right?
Exactly. You need people there to be there for you, to motivate you, to comfort you when you're feeling sad, to tell you that, to congratulate you when you do good things, because that's really the only way that to have like a right hand. And this is how, you know, that's to me how kind of life is. Life has to be shared with other people, otherwise it's not very valuable. So to me, that's
There is I don't know if I showed this video in your class, but it's called Into the Wild. And towards the end of the film, I can't remember his name because I haven't seen the film for a while, but the main character shares that life is only worth it when shared. And so because he decided to go and live in Alaska alone for a while to find himself, and which was absolutely relevant, and then he decides to come back because he really finds the value in also being with others.
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to grow and learn about yourself, is through your interaction with other people. And that's the only way you're going to succeed as well, is through letting people help you when you need to be helped, and be your right hand
allowing
as well.
yourself to be helped, and ask for it as
that's
well,
very
right?
hard, and I struggled a lot with that this year. Being in the editor-in-chief position, you get this feeling of responsibility, like everything that happens is your responsibility, so you have to make everything happen. And I've realized, obviously, that that's a mistake in most cases. You have a team, and you need to let that team, you need to delegate stuff to the team. You can't expect to do everything just yourself, because it's not impossible, but it's just gonna
it maybe will make things not be as brilliant as they can be with cooperation,
exactly.
right?
It's not gonna maybe your idea is good, but if you share that idea with your team and ask
It
them
will
for
grow.
input, it could grow into something better. And it also might like affect your mental health, which is, I think, very important when coming to university, especially from abroad, because it's also such a big culture shock. Then having to deal with studying in a different language, and then if you're taking up on so much things and not asking for help and not, letting people help you, then it's just going to take a massive toll on your mental health, and it's not going to be good for anyone, and you're not going to achieve your dreams that way.
Good. Great sharing, Francisca. I like to share one little thing about exactly what you were saying, that sometimes what you're dreaming of is not necessarily what's going to happen. And because I have something in common with you, my passion used to be journalism when I was your age. Actually, it was from my childhood, because my passion for writing has been with me ever since I started listening to stories. I didn't even know how to write, and I was already making up stories. And so I really enjoy writing, and I wanted to be a journalist. And I had excellent grades at school, and then got a placement in one of the best courses, one of the best universities in Portugal at the time. At the time it was called, it is Communication Sciences, the course. And then what I wanted was journalism. And once I got there, first year was such, how can I say it? It just made me fall down to earth with a huge bump, because I realized the journalism that I had envisioned in my dream was not what journalism was in the real world. So I didn't really see myself in that position anymore.
No, I understand completely.
If you understand what I mean.
No, I felt exactly
because
the same in my first year.
Each newspaper, each TV channel, each radio channel have their own set of values, which when you're working for them, you have to comply, and you have to sort of go that way. And of course, at the time when I was 17, 18, being a freelancer was out of my scope,
of course,
because that would not pay my bills, obviously not at the beginning. So I fell into a depression, and I was in that depression for 2 years, my first 2 years of university, because the course was wasn't what I dreamt it would be. It was super theoretical, as you've said, courses are in Portugal, lots of stuff to study, but basically my dream of becoming a journalist was completely destroyed.
Yeah.
And but now, in hindsight, and 30 years later, I am very grateful that I did the course, because then I went, instead of doing journalism, I did marketing, public relations and publicity, which is what I'm doing at the moment for lindaschool. That is my main area of work, is communication. But at the time, because I felt so disillusioned, I turned to fitness and became a fitness instructor and so on. But, so no matter what you come to do in life after university, whatever you learned, wherever you were, be it in university, be it in any kind of job, in any kind of extracurricular activity, in any kind of experience, it will build you. So what I came to experience was, it doesn't matter that my dream wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, and it didn't come to pass in that way. But now, in fact, I communicate and I do write what I think, and I do share what I wanted to share at the time in a completely different way, because social media has brought us this completely different turn of events in life. So as you say, whatever it is, if things don't turn out to be exactly what you were dreaming, it doesn't really matter, because that will build you as well.
Yeah, of course. And
definitely,
people also have to realize you're not going to get your dream job at first time. So obviously, like I was saying, I really felt the same way when I came in my first year, because our first year doesn't count to our final grades. And I think that they put a lot of the theoretical stuff from that year, and the very news writing and breaking news type stuff, politics, and that's really not me. And that's also what I didn't think. I saw journalism as storytelling, kind of like you kind of described it in that way. And so to me, I was very disappointed in my first year. I was like not liking it at all either. But then when we went to second year, we mainly focused on feature writing, and then it really counted to our grades. So it was more valuable to me, and it kind of showed me that actually there is that part of journalism, and that there's the breaking news bit and the serious politics stuff, and then there's the other bit where it includes non-breaking stuff, which is still serious and still important stuff, like the stuff that I write, but it's more of telling stories of people who've gone through these life experiences, or even like lifestyle stuff. I always felt like that people think that certain parts of journalism are not as valuable as like news and stuff like that, and sometimes I still feel that way. And when applying for jobs, especially now, I'm having to consider, do I want to go into that just to have a job, and sometimes
choosing for you, what do I really want to do?
Do I want to go into that part that probably won't make me happy, but it will pay the bills just for a couple of years, just to get me in the industry, and so I can step up the ladder a little bit. But I'm heavily considering it, if I should go into that realm, or if I should just
nowadays copywriting has become a whole job in itself.
I've applied,
and there are so many requirements for copywriters for writing blogs for companies, and texts for the websites, and so much copywriting nowadays. So there are so many options.
No, there definitely
are. An amazing scope.
I've applied for a lot of copywriting jobs. I've applied for like script writing jobs. I've applied for feature writings, editing, all sorts of things. But obviously I've applied for certain jobs that I would be extremely happy working in, because they fit me as a person. They fit the kind of things that I like writing. So fingers crossed for those ones. But if I got any of the other ones, I will have to work with it, because it'll still give me experience, even if I don't necessarily it's not necessarily my dream job. I still have to go through it, because I will learn something, even if it's, as you said, something bad that maybe in the future will become something better. I think with work experience here as well, I've learned so much through that, actually working in the industry.
So you've got a friend here congratulating you and wishing you success, Susana Andrade.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll succeed.
For sure. The thing is, success is not necessarily what we expect, but it is feeling happy with yourself and your life, and doing something that is fulfilling and meaningful to you.
Exactly.
So I'm sure with your will that and the passion that you have, I'm sure that's exactly what your life is and will continue to be, because it's what you put into it.
It's exactly that. It's what you put into it. It's the hope that you have for things, and the work that you put into it as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I feel like as well in this industry specifically, it's kind of also knowing how to sell yourself. So that's another, I think, important thing that people should learn when trying to achieve their dreams. Know yourself very well. Know what your skills are, what you can bring to the table.
And don't be shy of presenting your skills and saying, I'm good at this, and this. And
that was something that to me felt really strange. It was like having to put yourself in this one page of a Word document and saying all the things that are good about yourself. I'm fine with it now, and I would say I'm quite good at doing that, like knowing myself in that sense. But if the first time when I was writing it with my friends and they were like, "Oh, you should say this," I was like, "Oh, but I don't want to sound, cocky. I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself or something." But you kind of have to do that, because if you don't do that, then they're not going to trust you. They're not going to.
Of course, how are they going to know that you know yourself and that they can trust you to do that job?
And you have to really put those unique things about yourself in there, because they're going to see so many people saying that they're passionate, saying that they're hardworking, saying that they've done this and that. So you need to really put something unique about yourself in there, which I'm still trying to figure out what it is specifically.
You probably will be figuring that out all your life, because it just expands.
That's true. You are right. At least it will be sort of a fun chase, and I'll keep learning about myself.
Getting to know about more and more of your treasures.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so this has been such a wonderful conversation, Francisca. I really feel inspired by these interviews on my Sunday evenings, and I'm so grateful that you accepted the invitation. It's a real honor for us.
It's an honor for me too, and it actually sometimes put me kind of into a perspective that I've actually achieved more than I think that I did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes, getting a lot of rejections from jobs, you kind of feel a bit down. But I think this conversation has helped me kind of believe in myself, really, and to go for it. So
that's one of the aims of these conversations as well, because people tend to not really value themselves enough.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone should try this.
Okay, so we've got until December to keep on with these interviews. So ex-lindaschool students, please contact us if you have been using your English as one of your main skills in your daily life. We are very happy to have you on this series, which will continue next Sunday. We have another great interview. I'm not going to reveal exactly who it is right now, though we already know who it is. It is another she, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. So see you next Sunday. Tune in, and Lindaschool is open to help anyone and everyone improve not only their English, we also have other languages, but English is our core business, is our main language, either online or physically at the school. So with everything that's gone on right now, it will be possible for you to be learning at Lindaschool no matter where you live, in Portugal or abroad, because you will be able to be in the class with us wherever you are, which is a good progress for the times we have been through. Okay, so I'm gonna end our broadcast and thank everyone who has pitched in and viewed this video. Please share if you enjoyed it. And Francisca, looking forward to hearing more of your news. We'll keep in touch, and who knows, sometime from now, another interview will come up.
that would be great. I'll probably have lots of new stuff to tell you.
I'm sure. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.